bringing the youth and how you need to do things to attract them is very, very apt. And so what we looked at was a situation where this is our business, the business lines, income lines are going down. What do we need to do? You now react. You must react. They say innovate or die. That means if you do not innovate or you do not move forward with the times, you become obsolete. We've heard stories about companies. We heard about Nokia. Remember Nokia? There was no competition to Nokia, but they did not innovate. There was Kodak. Remember Kodak, where you take the picture and you have the film. I'm not you two. You see me? I'm not you two. I'm old man. So I know all those things. I'm older than you think, man. So the Kodak where you shake the film. Do you know that? You don't hear Kodak anymore today. But do you know that before the digital camera came, Kodak had invented the digital camera 10 years before, but they kept it aside and said, no, we don't think this will be the future. So when you now talk about the youth and you now talk about the future, or you now talk about this is the largest population, we need to create, or we need to look inward and say, how can we attract these people, right? We need to say, how can we attract these people? And a lot is technology. Remember I said my organization was for something. We do something in my organization. There's a lot of us like me. And what we do is we do reverse mentoring. That means that, when you mentor someone, you're an older person, you mentor a young person, and you teach them. We now get the young people in our organization to mentor us. So we begin to think like them. We begin to plan like them. We begin to see what is important to them. So in developing so right now we do a lot of solo applications. And because we now develop those applications, we now see where we develop software applications. We now see how that is the future of our business. And if you look at even the registrar space where we manage these shareholders, it's so much more efficient for them now. Every single touch point, they don't need to come to our office anymore. Every single touch point. So this is what we're talking about. Where is the world leading to now? What is the future? How can we now innovate to attract, the section of the economy that we need to continue growing and carrying on this great cooperative movement. So like I said, the first few speakers have really helped me in my presentation. I will not spend too much of your time. I'm sorry, I know we're running behind schedule. So I'll just try and just go through it. But again, interactive. If you want to ask any questions, and I think we should wait for questions after the presentation. So the world is changing today. I gave you examples. You see where in some of my slides, you see where you hear Uber. You hear Uber. Uber is a company that doesn't have up to, I'm not sure how many staff they have, but their solution is across the world. In London alone, there are 40,000 Uber drivers in just London, not the UK, just London. So these are guys sitting in San Francisco, and they have, or California, and they have an application, and they sat down and they developed it, and they sent it across the world. And they sent it across the world, and everybody in each country is using it. They don't have any car, but it's the taxi drivers that are using it. Then you now go back and think, so wait, so it means that if cooperative members that were taxi drivers, maybe in Ikoyi, maybe in Festac, maybe in Mountain, came together and built a small application and say, anytime you need us, just go on this application and call us. Would they not get more customers? Would they not challenge Uber? So we see where people from outside, and the gentleman that spoke here talked about banking, right? We see where the cooperative, the competitors in today's world, your competitors are not the people that you used to, that you think is the other cooperative is my competitor, or both of us are in agriculture, this is my new competitor, or your competitor today is the Uber, and I'll tell you why. Your competitor today is the bank, and I'll tell you why. Your competitor today is the Netflix, is the Microsoft. Do you know why? Because the people that use those solutions, they go to them, they use them, and they see how easy it is. They see how easy it is. So when they come to the cooperative, someone talked about voting. Someone talked about the services, the goods and services. When they come to the cooperative, they want to see They want to feel that same ease. They want to go on their phone and be able to ask for loan. They want to go on their phone and be able to buy or sell. The gentleman was here selling those wonderful products here. The guy wants to go, they don't want to come all the way to First Stack and to see that this is here. They want to go online and look for how can I protect. He talked about his phone. How can I protect my phone? How can I stop fire? They want to go online and click and search, how can I stop fire? And they see the man's products online. And they click on it and it comes to their house the next day or 3 days after. And so, in today's world, it is how are you creating value to the next person? How would you like to be served? How are you serving that person? And that is the way, if we get that right, then we can do so many things. We can do so many things, and we can increase, and we can keep being prosperous or more prosperous. When you hear technology, everybody says technology. Everybody says, this technology thing, I don't understand it. It's too expensive. I don't have all these IT people here. When you hear digital transformation, it's about change. It's about how are we doing things today. So it starts from, remember I talked about what was the value. How are we doing things today? Someone mentioned here the voting, right? I said, how can I make voting more convenient for the member? How can I make the member in Sokoto State feel that he's part of this cooperative when it's time to vote? And if you do those little changes, if you make those, so this is transformation. So it's not, remember they said it's not about technology, it's just an enabler. So you don't need you don't need billions or millions or hundreds of thousands. You just say, how can I make this more convenient for my member? How can I make it cheaper for my member? How can I make it faster for my member? And when you do those things, you get more people, more members. You expand. You get people that were not necessarily on your site as your customers coming in as new customers, and you grow. And so, it was very interesting to hear that at least you guys were already thinking about that in terms of the section that was talking about youth empowerment and how to bring the youth there. Education is a very important part. I also did not know until I joined. I'm in the cooperative of my company, and I knew about cooperatives. My mom used to be in the cooperative, but I didn't understand the extent or the value of cooperatives until I joined the cooperative in my company. I remember I said I'm an old man. So just wonder, someone talked about the education. Do you understand? How are they understanding this movement and the value of the movement? Because all of our value, nobody's going to do something if they don't see that return, for them. How are we pushing and bringing that value? What's the communication? Do you understand? And these are what companies are looking at out there. They're looking at the space, and you see in some of my slides. Here I just talked about we talked about the population there in Nigeria. So the world, you cannot change it. We cannot go backward. It is now, we're in the digital era. If you look at in 2017 or 2018, they said Fortune 500 companies. These are the top companies in the world. Fortune 500 companies, top companies in the world by revenue or different parameters, right? You say, out of them, in the past year, in 2005, 2007, you used to see oil and gas companies, huge oil and gas companies, huge manufacturing companies. In today, the top 10, 7 of them are technology companies. And so, again, when I say technology companies, it does not mean that they have so many IT and spending so much on IT. No, but the way they engage, the way they provide value is in a different way, is in a convenient way. It is enabled by that technology. One of these companies, one of the companies that is huge. You hear Microsoft, you hear Microsoft, you hear Amazon. What does Amazon do? Amazon is doing what all of us are doing outside there. We have shops, we have stores, but they just brought it online to everybody in the world, and they gave you a good experience. So remember, they did not say they invested and they did a lot, but they said, what's the pain point of the customer? How can I create value for the customer? And they said, okay, let's provide this for the customer. People are talking of process automation. So in the cooperative, how do I join your cooperative now? Do I go and fill paper? Do I fill paper? Do I wait and it now passes around and they stamp and they now say, okay, approved? Do they put it on the notice board and keep the name and see if members want to come and check? How do I withdraw or pay loan? Do I still have to go somewhere and fill a form and drop it? When all these things can be automated. And so I sit down here, and instead of me thinking of the headache of entering the bus or keke napep or whatever, of going there, filling the form, hoping they get back to me, not sure they get back to me, the admin might be slow, I sit down here, I do all these things, and automatically you have a member easily. Will that not make you have more members coming on board? It will. So, even in the payment, why should I come and have to physically go and pay? Or depend on when you can connect it, and when it's time for payment, maybe time for my salary, it automatically goes into the coffers of the cooperative. Will the cooperative not have more funds to invest in? So these are the things that we need to look at. The world again is the digital. We're in the digital era. There are different things happening. Today they say Internet of Things. You have watches that connect to your TVs. You're there. You're using your phone to control things in your house. That's what they're talking about. Internet of Things. Cloud computing. Then we used to have a lot of racks where a lot of data information in the companies were put on those racks. Today it's on the cloud now. When they say the cloud, you just store everything there. So it means that this little phone has the capacity of the computer that was used to. It has about 400 million times they say capacity than the computer that was used to send the moon shuttle to the moon. So the world is changing, and you're saying how can we now move with that era so that we can increase and so that we can ensure the continuity. You have automated cars are driving themselves now, and it's there. Technology is moving and improving. So like I said, in terms of transformation, digital transformation, it's about that change. The people are looking for new sources of economic value. Companies, they're looking for how do I meet this person's need. And you see that first of all, I break it down. It's the customer. Think of the customer's touch point. What does our customer want? What does my member want? Not what I provide to my member. What would be more convenient for me or for my member? Because today now, remember, if you go, someone talked about the applications now. Back then, you see a company, maybe in Nigeria, maybe one of the breweries, and they're selling. You go to the TV, you see them selling a bottle of beer. You go to the billboard, they're selling the bottle of beer. You open the papers, you see the beer. It's changed today. Today, people will go to these social networks, Instagram, Twitter, and talk about how fantastic that beer was. So the customer is not now listening to all what you're saying, this is what my product does. The customer is now the one even appraising you and saying, oh, this guy's product is the best. I tasted it, I felt like this, I felt like that. That's how it is changing now. It's not all the adverts, the output, take this advert, take this product. It is what is the customer saying about your product. And remember that this customer's reach is everywhere. It's everywhere. From every country they can go and see what's happening. And so if someone is talking about your product and he tweets it, and everybody saying, wow, we need to go and get this product. That's where it's moving to. And that's where we need to look at and position. Even competition. Remember I talked about how the banks are your competition. Amazon, that is a huge company in America, is your competition. Alibaba is one of the big billion-dollar company, one of the biggest. They don't have any store, they don't have any goods or products, but that's all they sell. They just bring people, they just give a platform and bring people on top of that platform. And this is where we're going. Data. All of you here, people use data to predict now. You hear where they say data is the new oil. People say data is the new oil. What are they using this data for? They're using this data to get information about your behavioral patterns, about how they can predict what you want, about how they can personalize and customize goods and services to you. And so you do not now go and do trial and error. You already understand the profile of the customer and you see what you can give. How much data, even in Nigeria today, you can use that data. If you go, how many cooperatives can come together and go? I know CBN always has, they always have all these intervention funds and everything, but every time you hear, okay, only a very little percentage was given. Do you know that if you come together and go and say, this is the data of our members, this is how much we use, we spend every time, this is how much loans we give, this is how much of the repayment, that's what they're looking for. And you get access to these single digit intervention funds because of the data you already have, but you're not harnessing it. And so data is a very, very key thing. You know, you look at across, when you look at the Cooperative Monitor and those other reports, you talk about top 300 cooperatives. You know, you will look at region. I think Kenya is leading in Africa. I mean, we understand first of all our population and the number of cooperatives and how, you know, the movement have been there for years. There's no way that we should not feature in the top 5 cooperatives in the world in terms of as a country. And those things attract, that information alone would attract investors coming in and say, this sector, what can we do here? It will attract a lot of other things because they've used that data, they use data to make that decision. So how are we capturing our data? How are we using our data to become more efficient? These are the things that we need to look at. We talked about value. It's about creating value. You know, what value are you creating for the customer? There's no other thing. The customer is twofold. The customer you're selling to, and the customers are also your members of your cooperative. They're your customers. You know, what are you creating for them? Why do they want to come in? So you know, we talked about some of these platforms. Any of these platforms would have been cooperative members coming together. So there's something called collaborative economy. You know, and what cooperatives are doing around the world. What cooperatives are doing around this world is they're coming together. They're coming together to form a stronger union, and now using that to provide services. They're coming, so it's like a cooperative of maybe farmers or credit societies coming together and say, guys, instead of us, you know, just, you know, working in silos, let's come together and have a bigger body and do so many things. There was a company in Germany, I forgot the name now, something Western, a company in Germany, and what they used to do was they were one of the biggest flour distributors in the world, top 5 or so in the world, and they wanted to sell. And do you know who bought it? This is a huge industry that had corporate offices all over. You know who bought it? It was about 100 cooperatives that bought this huge company. And let me tell you why those cooperatives bought that company. Those cooperatives were providing the inputs. Everything that company did was because of what the cooperative was providing. They were farmers, they were providing the inputs. So why can't farmers, so look at, like you said, the likes of what? Is it Olam or even Dangote Industries? What? The farmers are the ones providing. So why can't farmers come together and say, we want to set up the Dangote industry? When you're providing, we want to set up another Dangote industry, when you're providing the inputs. Without the tomato, there will not be the tomato puree. You know, without the barley, there will not be, is it barley or which grain do we use for our beer? There will not be the beer. Why can't they come and form a brewery coming together? Because that's the thing they need for it. You know, and so this is what is happening across the world. They're coming together and they're doing a sharing economy where they provide they share what they have. They use their strength in numbers and skill, and they compete more. We see ride sharing. Again, ride sharing is Uber. We know Uber, we know Bolt or Taxify, but there's so many others across the world. You know, we talked about, so again, in Belgium, drivers are coming together. In a particular city in Belgium, I think Ghent, drivers are coming together, and they've developed a platform, and people are calling them and are doing what Uber is doing. There's no Uber there, so it's the company, it's those drivers that they use today. You know, and that's where, even in e-commerce, there's a cooperative in Australia. They came together in Canada, Mountain Equipment Cooperative. They came together and they formed a huge platform. And they said, you know what, we sell these things in different stores. Let's come together, put it online, and get everybody across the world now, you know, goes to them to buy this. Within us now, we even have disruption. So you're looking at the cooperatives and you're saying, okay, you have the cooperative, the agricultural cooperatives, but you see within our own, we see farm crowding, right? And so what farm crowding is doing is, so farm crowding they pull farmers together, and people now invest, and they go in and invest in these crops and everything,